from believing the hype,
Fighter pay is up 600%.
to signing away their future for pennies.
These fighters are risking their lives for $10,000.
Some of these stories aren't just shocking, they're outright heartbreaking. Today, we're diving deep into the UFC's dirtiest secrets, the fighters risking it all while the promotion rakes in millions. And trust me, you won't believe the truth behind the scenes. You thought the UFC was all about fighters battling it out for glory, huh? Well, brace yourself, because the real fight is happening behind the scenes, and trust me, it's a dirty, disgusting one. Seriously, it's a savage game, and if you're not paying attention, you're missing the plot. Let's rewind a bit. Back in the 2000s, MMA wasn't all UFC all the time. There was real competition. Pride in Japan, Strikeforce in the US, WEC, and Elite XC. Fighters had options. If you were a fighter back then, you didn't have to settle for the UFC's bare-bones contract. You could shop around, go where the money was, and pick your best opportunity. But then, something changed. The UFC, seeing the competition as a threat, decided to play the billionaire's game, buying out the competition. What followed was a systematic dismantling of the alternatives. Pride? Gone. Strikeforce, buy WEC, shut down Elite XC, crushed. And all while the UFC's business was skyrocketing. Their control? Absolute. They created a monopoly, and once the dust settled, they were the only game in town. Now, let's talk about where we are today. UFC's business is thriving. Record-breaking gates, pay-per-view numbers going through the roof, Dana White out here flexing about breaking all the records. But when you look closely, something doesn't add up. Fighters, the ones making the UFC what it is, are still stuck at the same low pay. The starting contracts have been the same since 2010. $10,000 to show, $10,000 to win. Meanwhile, UFC has been raking in millions from ticket sales, pay-per-views, and global sponsorship deals. UFC 306, for example. Yes, the worst floor seat was $12,000. One seat was worth more than a fighter losing a fight. Yeah, you read that right. A fighter could show up, lose, and earn less than a seat in the stands. Sheesh. Now, let's break down the math. You're a fighter, you sign that starting contract, $10,000 to show. You win? You get another $10,000. Sounds decent, right? But wait, you're taxed, and after the IRS gets its cut, you're down to around $7,000. And you haven't even gotten to your trainer fees, manager's cut, or the cost of training and weight cutting. After all that, you're left with maybe $4,000, or even $3,000. That's for risking your health, your career, and the constant threat of brain damage, all for months of training. It's literally better to beg on the street than to lose a UFC fight, no doubt. So why does the UFC do this? Because they don't have to pay more. They don't need to. The UFC's position is clear. They own the talent. There's nowhere else to go. When all the other organizations were gobbled up, Bellator was the only competition left standing, but even it couldn't keep up. Bad business decisions, poor matchmaking, and ineffective leadership left Bellator in the dust. Bellator tried to hold its ground, but it's no match for the UFC's dominance. Now, PFL is buying Bellator, leaving the UFC as the sole gatekeeper to fame, money, and legacy. If you want to be a household name, if you want to be known as one of the best, UFC is the only way in. You either play by their rules, or you fade into obscurity. That's it. And don't even get me started on sponsorships. Fighters used to make serious money by wearing their own sponsors on their shorts. Not anymore. UFC controls everything. Fighters can't just rock a brand they love or represent a personal sponsor. They can only wear UFC-approved logos, and guess what? The UFC gets the check. The fighters get nothing. You thought that was bad? Let's talk about pay-per-view revenue. If you're a champion, you'd think that if your fight sells 1 million pay-per-views, you'd get $2 per buy. Well, think again. Here's how it actually works. From 0 to 500,000 buys, the fighter gets only $1 per buy. From 500,000 to 750,000 buys, they get $1.50 per buy. Only after 750,000 buys does the champion earn $2 per buy. So, for 1 million pay-per-views, instead of the 2 million they should be getting, they're lucky to walk away with $1,375,000. That's way less than what they should be earning, and if you speak out about it, you risk being blackballed. Fighters have no voice. You play by the UFC's rules, or you don't fight at all, you bet. But don't worry about the UFC, it's sitting pretty. UFC's business exploded. Revenue increased tenfold since 2010. The gate numbers are breaking records every year. Dana White's out there talking about record-breaking everything. Meanwhile, the fighters are stuck on the same scraps. They're risking everything, putting their bodies and health on the line for a fraction of what they deserve. The UFC's business is booming, but the fighters at the bottom? They're still stuck at the bottom, for real. And let's be real, UFC has no reason to change. Why should they? They're the only game in town. Fighters have nowhere to go. Bellator's dead, and even if you don't want to fight for UFC, what's the alternative? Create your own organization? Go ahead. But it's not that easy. The UFC's power is unmatched. They own the industry, and the money keeps flowing in, with or without the fighters. UFC's got all the cards. They've got loyal fans, top-tier sponsorships, and the brand that everyone recognizes. It's the only promotion that matters. Fighters? Well, they're just a piece of the puzzle. If they don't like it, they can try to start their own MMA organization. But they already know, there's no competing with the UFC. The UFC's dominance is here to stay, and nothing's going to change that. Whatever happens next, it's already legendary. Bet.